The radiant hall of Kalis Prime shimmered like a living jewel. Thousands of alien courtiers stood shoulder to shoulder beneath a ceiling that reflected galaxies in motion. Lights pulsed from holographic spires, and the Imperial choir hummed a note so pure it felt like time held its breath. Captain Elias Draven stood at the center, alone. His Terran uniform, creased, stripped of medals, looked drab against the golden floor. Shackles, more symbolic than secure, gleamed against his wrists. Drones hovered near his face, broadcasting every detail across the Empire. He ignored them. He kept his eyes forward, jaw locked. On the throne above him lounged Emperor Varkal Kyawayen, cloaked in translucent armor that whispered when he moved. His expression was carved from indifference. Around him, courtiers whispered, smirked, drank from floating crystal goblets. This wasn't diplomacy. It was a performance. Varkal rose. In honor of our unpredictable Terran guest, he announced, I offer a gift. One I believe reflects the poetry your people hold so dear. Murmurs rolled through the hall. A soft chime rang, and from behind a veil of shifting starlight emerged Princess Seraphine. She walked like gravity answered to her alone. Her skin, a luminous shade of blue, caught every glint of the chamber's radiance. Her copper hair coiled down her back in braids tipped with stardust. The gown she wore, deep sapphire with etched constellations, hugged her with precise elegance. But her eyes didn't smile. She stopped beside Elias. You're giving me your daughter? He asked, voice low, dry. A symbolic offering, the Emperor replied, waving a jeweled hand. A consort, a companion. A reminder of mercy, or a mirror of your failure. Laughter rippled around them. Elias turned his head slightly. You okay with this? He murmured to Seraphine. I wasn't asked, she said flatly. Their eyes met, not with warmth, but with shared awareness. This was not her idea. Not his either. But they were the ones trapped in it. She moved to stand beside him as two guards approached, bearing an ornate document scroll. One of them dropped a stylus into Elias's palm. He hesitated, then something small fluttered to the floor. A worn book. Its cover, cracked leather. Its title, Poems of the Dying Earth, clearly Terran. He picked it up and looked at her. You read Earth poetry? Not aloud, she said, glancing sideways. Not safely. His fingers brushed hers as he handed it over. Something passed between them, not affection, not yet, but the flicker of an unspoken alliance. The moment broke when Lord Mael Veros stepped forward, his silver robe dragging like mist. The Emperor's spymaster bowed, never fully lowering his head. Majesty, Veros said with polished venom, why not let this couple tour the colonies? A gesture of goodwill. It would show the galaxy how well Terrans adapt. More laughter. Seraphine didn't move. Elias signed the scroll. Trumpets blared. The Emperor raised his arms, basking in his own performance. Behind him, courtiers applauded, drank, and scattered petals from the balconies above. Drones spun in spirals, capturing the new union. By the time they reached the royal star yacht, Elias's jaw ached from holding his temper. The yacht, Aster Ion, was a luxury vessel designed to glide through hyperspace like silk through air. Its interior gleamed with mother-of-pearl corridors and voice-responsive walls. Elias hated it immediately. In their shared quarters, larger than any spaceport captain's lounge, Seraphine sat by the observation deck, feet tucked beneath her. Why did you agree to this? He asked. I didn't. You could have said no. Not unless I wanted to spark a rebellion, she said, brushing her hair back. My father trades dignity like currency. You're not angry? I'm furious, she said softly. I just learned to wear it well. He stared at her. She stared back. Then the floor shifted under them. Alarms screamed. Quantum anomaly detected, the ship's voice echoed. Reactor core compromised. Elias moved without thinking, grabbing her hand. Follow me. They passed panicking guards, flashing warnings, smoke curling from vents. Gravity flickered, tossing them against walls. Seraphine yanked open a sealed hatch and crawled inside. How do you know this access point? He asked, squeezing in behind her. I designed the ship, she said. You think I don't plan my own exits? They emerged into the maintenance hub. A sphere pulsed at the center, glowing red, unstable. A bomb. Veros, Elias said. Obviously. He floated forward, hands steady, analyzing its countdown. I can eject it, he muttered. But if I mistime the vent? You won't, she said. How do you know? She looked at him. Because I need you alive. His pulse skipped. He worked fast. She keyed open the cargo vent. The bomb hissed, spun and vanished into the void with a flash. The silence that followed was absolute. Back in the command deck, they watched the stars wheel slowly outside the viewport. You saved us, Seraphine said. No. We saved each other. A message chimed on the console. Priority encrypted. She opened it. A single sentence. Return alone to Arctira or watch the Terran die. Her face stilled. The color in her lips drained. What is it? Elias asked. She didn't answer. Seraphine. She closed the console. We'll be rerouting, she said, voice hollow. My father wants a private meeting. You're not going back. Her silence was answer enough. I'm not your leash, he snapped. You don't owe me protection. No, she said, quietly. But I'm not letting them use you to hurt me. He took a step forward. There's another way. There isn't. She left the room. He stared after her, heart pounding, chest tight, not with anger, not with fear. With something worse. Certainty. He was falling for a woman who'd already decided to trade herself for his life. The slipstream corridor shimmered like liquid glass, streaked with light from dying stars. Aster ions sailed through it silently, but tension crackled in every panel, every pulse of the reactor. Seraphine hadn't spoken since the message. Elias watched her from across the command deck, waiting for the moment she'd admit what she was planning. She never did. Instead, she moved with quiet resolve, issuing course adjustments and dismissing the guards with soft authority. She didn't need force, her presence commanded it. Elias didn't press her. Not yet. He reviewed the logs again, every second of the sabotage, looking for inconsistencies. But the setup was airtight. Veros had turned him into a walking threat to the Empire. Bounty broadcasts already circled frontier satellites. Images of his face beside blinking red prices. Do they always move this fast? He asked. Faster, Seraphine replied without looking up. When the goal is silence. You think they'll silence you too? A pause. I think they'll try. The ship shuddered slightly, then stabilized. Seraphine exhaled, standing up from the console. There's a refueling moon ahead, she said. Arctira 7. Isolated. We can drop anchor for a few hours. Is this a detour or a trap? That depends, she said. Will you follow me, even if it is? Elias met her eyes. Yes. Arctira 7 glowed like a gemstone. Its atmosphere shimmered violet and green under twin suns. The landing platform was half swallowed by luminous vegetation and glowing mineral pools. No one greeted them. The station had long since been abandoned, another victim of imperial budget cuts. Seraphine stepped off the yacht barefoot, sinking her toes into the warm, glass-smooth sand. She moved like someone unshackled for the first time. Elias followed behind, not because he didn't trust her, but because he couldn't stay away. They walked in silence along the glowing shore. Overhead, clouds pulsed with electric blues. The ocean gave off a slow, humming sound, as if breathing. Why here? He asked finally. I came once as a child, she said. Before I knew what I was supposed to be. It felt like another life. You always speak like you're being watched. I was born watched. She stopped at the edge of the tide. Water lapped around her ankles, luminous strands wrapping around her like ribbons. She turned toward him. I used to believe I could change things from within the palace. Speak carefully, work quietly. Then I realized I was just scenery. Elias stepped closer. You're more than that. She met his gaze. Am I? Neither moved. Then she took the first step. Her fingers brushed his. He didn't flinch. The warmth of her skin was impossible to ignore. He raised his hand, let it cup the side of her face. She leaned into it, closing her eyes. And then they kissed, slow, careful, no grand declarations. Just breath, and want, and 1,000 silent questions crashing between them. When they broke apart, she didn't look away. "I'm scared," she whispered. He rested his forehead against hers. "Me too." The moment didn't last. A warning blinked on the comm link strapped to Elias's wrist. Multiple heat signatures approaching, fast. "Company," he muttered, backing away. Seraphine's smile vanished. She tapped her wrist. "They jammed the yacht's signal. We've got 10 minutes, maybe less." She didn't need to say who they were. Bounty hunters. Elias drew the blaster from his belt, checked its charge. Seraphine pulled her own knife, curved, ceremonial, deadly. They moved quickly, keeping to the ridge line overlooking the beach. The first ship came down in a cyclone of dust and wind. 3 figures disembarked, 2 insectoid mercenaries and a lean, pale humanoid in black armor. "I've seen him before," Elias muttered. "He worked with Veros during the border sieges." "He's fast," Seraphine said. "And brutal." "Then we hit first." She nodded. Together they dropped down the slope like shadows. Elias took the flank, firing clean shots, one mercenary down, the other scrambling for cover. Seraphine lunged at the armored commander. Their blades clashed once, twice, the sound sharp and ringing under the alien moonlight. Elias dropped the second merc before turning to help. But she didn't need it. Seraphine swept her leg under the commander's stance, dropped him hard, and drove the blade into the seam of his armor. He gasped, surprised, and then was still. Breathing hard, she stood. Elias reached her side. "You okay?" She nodded. "We won't have long. They'll send more. We need to go. Now." They returned to the yacht. Systems offline. Signal dead. "Can you get us airborne?" she asked. "I can try." He started the reboot sequence, fingers moving fast across unfamiliar controls. Seraphine hovered behind him, restless. "You're good with a blade," he said. "Better with words," she murmured. But they stopped working. The console lit green. Elias exhaled. "Engines cycling. Give me 20 seconds." She didn't answer. He looked over. Her hand hovered over the manual override, code keyed in. A sleep injector sat in her other hand. "Don't," he said. "You'll chase me if I don't. We'll find another way." "There is no other way," she said, voice breaking. "My father will stop hunting you if I return. But if we run, he'll never stop. He'll burn worlds to get to us." "I don't care." "I do." She pressed the injector to his neck. He grabbed her wrist, too late. Darkness swam up from the edges. Her face was the last thing he saw, tears catching the edge of the control panel light. When Elias woke, the ship was quiet. The engines still pulsed, but the pilot seat was empty. Coordinates locked Arctira to Kalis. She was gone. A message blinked on the console. Short, encrypted, her voice tight. "You saved me. Now I'm returning the favor. I'm not afraid to face them. But don't come after me, Elias. Please. Not for me. Not for the child." He froze. "The child." He replayed it twice. The words didn't change. Only his breath did. Sharpened. Burned. And then he moved. Because of course he was going after her. Not because she asked him not to. Because she didn't mean it. The walls of Kalis Palace pulsed with artificial daylight, flawless and serene. Inside them, Seraphine moved like a shadow trapped in her own reflection. Back home. Back in the glittering prison. The guards didn't speak. Neither did her father. They escorted her through marble corridors into the high sanctuary, then locked her inside without ceremony. No trial. No confrontation. Just silence. She stood alone beneath the towering dome, where centuries of her ancestors stared down from holographic murals. A full circle of judgment. She let her fingers rest on the swell beneath her gown, barely visible, but real. She knew now what they'd feared. Not her rebellion. Her potential. Her child. Veros arrived 2 hours later, sharp as a scalpel. He didn't knock. He simply entered, robes trailing, voice smooth. You returned. Impressive. I didn't think you had the stomach to finish this performance. I didn't do it for you. No, he smiled. You did it for him. She didn't answer. He drifted across the room, trailing one hand along the edge of the crystal lectern. Do you know how rare hybrid conception is? Less than 1 in 30 million. And almost all end in miscarriage. But not you. Not the princess. Her fingers curled. He stepped closer, voice softening. You could have ruled. You still can. She held his gaze. Is that why you orchestrated the bounty? So I'd run back here, afraid? Veros tilted his head. You call it a bounty. I call it a lever. You endangered half the outer colonies. I created a moment, he said, voice icy now. The Emperor is old. The people grow restless. You made it worse by making them feel something for you. That was never your role. Neither was yours, she said. But here you are. He didn't flinch. The Emperor is dying. He won't say it, but we both know. And when he goes, the power vacuum will tear everything apart unless someone controls the narrative. She folded her arms. And what's your narrative? That the Empire can evolve. He smiled. That I can guide it. And what happens to the child? His smile didn't reach his eyes. That depends. The physician came later, escorted by 2 silent drones. The scan was brief. Seraphine lay still beneath a soft arc of light, the pulse of her child echoing faintly through the crystal chamber. You're healthy, the doctor murmured. Remarkably so. The fetus is stable. The compatibility markers. He paused. She looked at him. They're off the charts. When she sat up, her hands trembled. And if I asked for transport off-world? He didn't respond. That told her everything. Far from Kalis, on a scorched moon penal colony, Elias Draven sat in a rusted containment cell, half-conscious, bleeding from a cracked rib. He'd made it within planetary orbit before a stolen cruiser betrayed him. Palace interceptors tore his ship apart in seconds. Now, he waited. Not for rescue. For an opening. He studied the routines, the shift rotations, power surges, drone recharge windows. He calculated risk like a pilot again. On the 5th day, the lights flickered at 0300. One of the prisoners faked a seizure. A planned distraction. Elias jammed the biometric reader with a bent screw hidden in his boot, slipped through the gate as it cycled. 2 guards spotted him. He didn't hesitate. 1 elbow to the jaw. 1 shoulder roll to disarm the other. He moved through smoke and sirens until he reached the hangar bay. Just as his contact arrived, a Terran smuggler named Vale who owed him too many favors. You look like hell, Vale said. I feel worse. Fly. They shot into orbit. Elias didn't breathe until the stars blurred. I need to get to Kalis, he said. Vale swore. That's a fortress now. I know. You won't get near her. I don't need near, he said. I just need under. That night, Kalis held its masked celebration, the annual Concord Ball. A public show of unity, where nobles drank beneath holographic dragons while the Empire quietly shifted beneath their feet. Seraphine wore a gown like liquid silver and a mask shaped like a phoenix. Her father made no announcement about her return. He simply placed her beside him at the dais like a statue. But she saw everything. Guards in new positions. Veros's men whispering into comms. Too many drones hovering near structural pillars. She scanned the crowd. No Elias. No movement. Then she felt it. A tremor beneath the floor. Subtle. Deep. The catacombs. She excused herself. Walked the corridor to the north stairwell. 2 guards nodded as she passed, but she knew their eyes weren't trained to spot the secret panel halfway down the wall. She pressed her palm to the sigil. The wall slid open. Elias stood in the shadows, chest heaving, covered in dust. You're late, she whispered. You drugged me, he said. I figured we were even. She reached out and touched his face. Then everything exploded. A shockwave rocked the palace. The corridor behind them collapsed in flame. Chunks of the ceiling rained down. Screams echoed. Elias grabbed her and pulled her through the tunnel. They emerged into a vault beneath the sanctuary, roots hanging from the ceiling, vines lit with bioluminescent moss. Ancient Heir. Veros made his move, Elias gasped. Tonight was the coup. She staggered, clutching the wall. He turned. Blood ran down her leg. I think, she whispered. It's starting. Elias caught her as she collapsed. Not in fear. In labor. The vault ceiling dripped dust as ancient stones groaned above them. Flames flickered through cracks in the ruins above. Elias knelt beside Seraphine, heart pounding harder than the chaos rumbling above. She gritted her teeth, one hand clutching her swollen belly, the other buried in the moss-lined earth. It's too soon, he whispered. No, she said through clenched teeth. It's now. Another contraction rippled through her body. She cried out, biting back a scream. Elias ripped the cloak from his shoulders and folded it beneath her. Breathe. You're safe here. I've got you. She laughed bitterly. We're underground in a collapsing palace, and I'm in labor with the first hybrid child in galactic history. Safe isn't the word I'd choose. He brushed sweat-damp hair from her temple. Then let's just survive. She nodded once. Above, muffled explosions rolled like thunder. The Empire was tearing itself apart. Elias worked quickly. Years of training kicked in, field trauma protocol, makeshift tools, careful observation. The vines above glowed soft blue, casting gentle light over her skin. Her breath came in fast, uneven waves. You're doing perfect, he whispered. You're stronger than any warrior I've ever known. Her fingers found his. Just promise me. Anything. If I don't make it. Don't. Promise me you'll protect the child. You're both making it out of here. Another contraction hit. She screamed. The echo trembled the moss-covered walls. Above them, metal screeched. A panel dropped loose from the ceiling, then a voice. Draven. Vale's voice, thin through static. We've breached the floor above you. Get to the lift. 30 seconds. Elias looked to Seraphine. I can't move her, he shouted. The baby's coming. Copy that. We're holding position. Seraphine grabbed his arm. It's time. Elias nodded, swallowing fear. He wasn't ready. But she was. She gave birth as the Empire broke open. Her screams wove with the dying wails of collapsing towers. And then a silence. Piercing, sudden, complete. A cry. Soft. Fragile. Alive. Elias wrapped the child in a strip of his undershirt. The infant's skin was pale violet, eyes closed, hair dark and curling. Seraphine reached up, fingers trembling. A boy. Elias nodded. Perfect. And loud. The child let out another sharp cry, as if declaring himself to the cosmos. Seraphine smiled faintly. Let them try and erase that sound. Then her eyes fluttered. Hey, Elias said, alarmed. Stay with me. She was losing blood. Too much. He lifted her gently, child cradled against her chest, and turned toward the path. Vale, I need that lift now. Lowering it. Stone cracked behind him. The vault ceiling began to give. He ran. They emerged into fire and chaos. Courtiers fled through burning corridors. Guards turned on one another. The coup had unraveled into a full-blown civil collapse. In the chaos, the emperor stood in the center of the sanctuary, motionless, robes singed, his crown fallen at his feet. He turned as Elias stepped into view, holding Seraphine in his arms, her head resting against his shoulder, the child sleeping in her arms. Silence rippled through the wreckage. Even fire paused. Varkal took one step forward. She's alive, Elias said. The emperor looked at the child. His jaw clenched, his expression unreadable. This is your blood, Elias said. Your future. The emperor stared. He is impossible. No. He is real, Seraphine whispered, weak but steady. And he is the only thing that can save this empire. Varkal moved closer. The baby stirred. His small hand rose, fingers curled in reflex. The emperor stared as if looking into a mirror across galaxies. Then slowly, he knelt. He didn't speak. He bowed his head and touched the child's foot with trembling fingers. I see, he said softly. Then to the guards, call off the attacks. Arrest Veros's remaining loyalists. The throne is no longer mine alone. In the days that followed, Kalis was rebuilt piece by piece. The child was named Kaelin. He slept beneath twin suns, fed by the woman who defied a world and protected by the man who refused to be used by it. Seraphine healed slowly. She walked the palace gardens again, this time unescorted. Every time Elias looked at her, he saw the moment she trusted him with everything she had. Not as a symbol. Not as a gift. As a woman who chose him. The emperor did not abdicate, but he no longer ruled alone. A treaty was drafted. For the first time, Terran ambassadors were granted permanent seats in the High Council. Elias refused any rank or title. He stayed for her. For the child. For a peace that had not yet learned how to stand but had been born screaming, fighting, and alive. On the morning of Kaelin's naming ceremony, Elias stood alone at the edge of the balcony, staring into the rising suns. A flicker in the sky caught his attention. A fleet. Not imperial. Not Terran. Unknown. Sleek, black, silent. Watching. He didn't move. Just narrowed his eyes. More shadows. Seraphine asked behind him. Maybe. She stepped beside him, baby in her arms. He kissed her forehead. We'll be ready. The boy reached for the light, fingers outstretched. A new beginning, Elias thought. And possibly new wars. But this time, he wouldn't run. This time, they had something worth protecting. And no one would take it from them.